Good morning, it's Thursday, August 27, and this is the Brussels Playbook podcast. The vibe in Brussels today is wary as Europe watches Canada stand up to Trump and wonders whether it should do the same. Also on the pod, France's presidential hopefuls are facing off in their first major debate. And could EU waste rules spell trouble for some of Europe's most beautiful booze bottles? That's a hard one to say. Whew. Dion's testing me today. I'm Zoya Sheftalovich, and with me today is our senior finance reporter, Kathryn Carlson. Hey, Katie.
Hi, Zoya.
Do you have a favourite booze bottle?
I just want to say, most beautiful booze bottle 5 times really fast after having 3 glasses of wine. I feel like you could do it, and I probably couldn't. Your enunciation is unparalleled.
Oh, my God. What a high compliment. I'll tell you what, Dionys will vouch for me. I would never be able to say the same things 5 times because I cannot repeat the same things 5 times, can I?
True.
It's off the cuff or bust for me, Katie. All right, let's get straight into it. Today's first story is something we don't normally talk about on the podcast here. It's Canada, baby.
Oh, Canada.
Oh, Canada, indeed. Why are we talking about it today, Katie?
We're talking about Canada because Ottawa is newly beefing with the US, and Brussels is looking at how much it should or shouldn't be having a backbone against Donald Trump when it comes to trade, like Mark Carney is at the moment. So what is happening is there's an escalating trade war between the US and Canada that has popped off in the last couple of weeks. They almost got there on agreeing a trade deal. Everything fell apart. Both sides accused each other of trying to change everything last minute. And since then, we've had tit-for-tat tariffs. So the US put 50% of tariffs on about $20 billion worth of Canadian stuff. Canada has said it's retaliating with about the same on the level of US imports into Canada on stuff like steel, dairy, electronics. And now Trump's saying that they're going to escalate again, potentially with 50% tariffs on Canadian cars, trucks, auto things. So it's getting worse.
Yeah, really pumping the brakes on trade.
One of the Canadian politicians told Trump to kiss his ass, which I'm kind of obsessed with. I wish we had that level of candor in Brussels.
Yeah, and of course, this is all part of what Carney was talking about during his Davos speech earlier this year. He was talking about the fact that in this modern world of scary Trump tariffs, we middle powers have to stick together, and he was talking to the EU. Since then, he's been kind of the flavor of the minute. Everyone's been talking Carney everywhere you go. People were referring to that speech at big events. He's been quite a kind of celebrity in that middle power world, so to speak. And Canada and the EU have been working more closely together. There's this summit that's about to be held soon. There was a sense of okay, let's be friends together because Donald Trump might bully us. However, push is now coming to shove because these negotiations over this trade deal with Canada have broken down with the US. There are these massive tariffs. Carney's looking over his shoulder to see if his buddies from the EU are there to back him up, and it's not looking too good for him.
Well, I think it's also a question of what are they supposed to do? Are they going to go back and tear up their trade deal that they agreed with the US? No, that already precedes all of this beefing. It's more of an ideological thing. I mean, it's about the idea of the middle powers. Do you stand together? Do you work together on things like defense, on trade links, rather than necessarily oh, you're in a trade war with Canada, now we're also going to be in a trade war and completely shoot ourselves in the foot.
But that being said, I mean, there hasn't even really been that much supportive rhetoric. People have been staying pretty quiet. Chancellor Friedrich Merz of Germany, he did speak with Carney, according to some reporting that you've done in a big kind of global newsroom coordination effort with our colleagues in Ottawa and our colleagues in the US. There has been a conversation, but there aren't too many statements of support.
Well, but now there is light at the end of the tunnel because we've seen that Carney is actually going to be coming to Strasbourg and joining von der Leyen for the State of the Union speech in September. So that's...
Ooh, this is going to be interesting. I think this is really significant because I can't remember there being a third-party kind of non-EU leader invited to watch the speech. That's pretty big. I think it does give you a sense of the extent to which Carney is kind of a big deal in the EU. And there have been some EU voices backing Ottawa. So, for instance, Bernard Lange, who's the chair of the Parliament's Trade Committee, he has publicly come out and said, yep, Carney's doing the right thing and the EU needs a little bit more metal as well in its dealings with Trump. It's not silence, it's not full crickets, but it isn't as much as you would maybe hope for if you were Carney.
Well, Carney's also going to talk to the European Parliament, so maybe he'll get a chance to tell them himself.
Yeah, that's true, because he's giving an address the next day. So Ursula von der Leyen is giving her address on the 16th of September, and then Carney is going to speak to the Parliament on the 17th. I reckon he'll probably get a rock star welcome.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody loves Carney. And he's also said that he's going to be talking to the EU in the autumn. So he's going to talk about an economic and security partnership. We've also got the G20 finance ministerial coming up this weekend. I think this issue of the whole middle powers standing together, do we back Canada? How do we have solidarity for each other is going to come up as well.
Well, maybe what Canada really wants when it comes to solidarity is the ratification of its long in the works agreement with the EU, the CETA trade deal. It was negotiated and finalized more than a decade ago. I'm old enough to remember when that actually happened. I remember when the Canadian trade minister said that the EU had made her cry. It still isn't ratified across the EU.
Including in Belgium. Where is my cheap maple syrup, Ursula von der Leyen?
Ooh, that's a great shout. A great shout. Oh, and speaking of, we were going to talk about bottles. Maple syrup in Canada, beautiful bottles.
Oh, they have like the maple leaf.
Yeah,
bottles,
they do.
Right?
All of our paths are combining today, Katie.
Why don't we have that level of whimsy in Belgium?
Well,
the Cirrus de Liège bottles. Shouldn't they be fun?
I agree, and we'll write to Belgium and say, Belgium, get more whimsy up here. Alrighty, Katie, on to our second story of the day. There is a pretty interesting French presidential debate that's happening today, and that's going to be the first time we see 7 of the top candidates, the big name candidates who've announced that they're running for the French presidential election, which is happening in April and May next year. They are going head-to-head at the MEDEF business gathering at Roland Garros later today. It's going to be a big televised event, the second most interesting thing that's happened at Roland Garros this year.
Also, not the first time we've talked about Roland Garros on the podcast.
Listen,
everything is coming together this time.
Everything is the stars are aligning, folks. Well, anyway, so this debate, it starts at 4:45 p.m. and the people who are taking part, and I apologize to our French listeners in advance for some of these pronunciations. So we've got Jean-Luc Mélenchon, that's the far left candidate. We've got Marine Le Pen from the far right, Gabriel Attal, Raphael Glucksmann, and Edouard Philippe, and Bruno Retailleer, and Marine Tondelier. She's the leader of the French Greens. Anyway, it's very interesting. 5 business leaders are going to be questioning them. The economy is at the center of this whole thing.
It's going to be very interesting to see them all on stage together for the first time. It's going to start feeling like this is a real election rather than a series of scandals, court cases, people dropping out, people dropping in. It feels like we're finally getting an idea of how this race is actually shaping up and who the key figures are going to be.
Yeah. And look, I mean, there are 7 people in this debate, but I think all eyes will be on Marine Le Pen and on Jean-Luc Mélenchon because they are the 2 who seem to be the front runners ahead of this debate. And we've got some polling. Our colleague Claire Calcourt and our colleague Marion Saletti have written stories over the past couple of days looking at the polling, looking at the scenes on the ground. And it really is looking like that Brussels nightmare scenario of a Mélenchon versus Le Pen runoff round, which is projected to go to Marine Le Pen if that is the kind of final choice given to voters in France. So certainly those are going to be the 2 people who everyone is watching.
Because, of course, the French election, it's a runoff. There are 2 rounds in the final stage.
Assuming no one gets 50% of the vote in the first round, which is unlikely.
It's shaping up to be a super interesting race if that does happen. Also nightmarish for centrist politicians. Both candidates hate NATO and want to pull France out of NATO. Both have very radical economic policies.
Yes, and I mean, we just saw a little taste of how radical some of those economic policies are. So Mélenchon has just thrown kind of a spanner in the works. He said that basically France shouldn't have to pay back its debt, is what he said.
Yeah, I mean, as an anti-capitalist, you can kind of see it. As someone that wants to be credibly the head of a government of a major European country, which needs to still be able to borrow money on international financial markets to pay for stuff, probably not so much.
I'm hearing shades of Liz Truss's lettuce is what I think imagining.
This is a whole damn salad. I think, one of the reasons that this race is becoming potentially so radicalized is because you haven't seen the center coalesce around strong centrist candidates. So there's a lot of infighting between different ones. There's potentially too many that it's becoming splintered and it's splitting the potential vote. We should probably pay attention to Gabriel Attal today. He's trying to set himself out as the leading Macronist candidate. I mean, he's Macron's political heir, kind of. Also, side note, in a relationship with our friend from the European Commission, Executive Vice President Stéphane Séjourné, who apparently, if he wins, Attal will go and live in the Elysée.
Oh, that's very nice. I wouldn't mind living in the Elysée myself. Well, that is super interesting. Attal is one of the centrists to watch. The other one is Edouard Philippe, who is well known because he was the French Prime Minister, famously quite a popular French Prime Minister, who was kind of cut down in his prime. And he is also trying to go after this centre ground. And I think those two, because they are both quite well known, they're both quite popular, they are eating away at each other's support and leaving this ground for Mélenchon and for Le Pen. Oh, and by the way, do you know who else is talking at this MEDEF meeting today?
I'm going to say the only person in the EU who speaks better French than you, Zoya.
I don't know if that's an insult to me or to European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who is going to be delivering an address also to the MEDEF crowd. Actually, a little scoopily-doopily, she's going to be talking about competitiveness. I mean, kind of obvious. She's going to deliver the whole speech in French.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I wish I could deliver a French speech. Katie, let's talk booze bottles. I could use some booze myself. It's early, but it's probably 5 p.m. somewhere.
Shall we go for a spritz after this?
Breakfast spritz, not too shabby. Okay, so the reason we're talking about this today, it's because by the end of this decade, some of Europe's most distinctive pretty bottles for booze, but also for things like perfume, might become rarer and more difficult to make if you're a booze or perfume manufacturer.
Yes, so our colleague Marianne Gros has a story out today that Europe's glassmakers are worried about EU packaging rules coming in. This is the Packaging and Packaging Waste Regulation, very catchily titled.
Love that. It's hot.
And that rule means that from 2030, companies are going to have to use the least amount of packaging that they can for their products, which means they might not be able to justify the extra weight or a volume that comes from a fancy razzmatazz bottle.
Yeah. And you know what, Katie? The arguments from the booze companies and from the perfumiers are pretty convincing because they say, look, a lot of why these French wines or French perfumes sell the way they do, or Grey Goose vodka, or whatever it is, it's down to the packaging, the beautiful bottles. And I got to say, I'm not going to argue with them because my favorite champagne de Vinoge, a large part of the reason I love it so much is because of how beautiful the bottle is. So I feel like I'm a bit of a chump with my love of a particular glass bottle. So I think they've got a point there. And they're saying, look, while this proposal does protect existing intellectual property, existing bottles, existing kind of designs, they're saying, look, you're going to stop us from being able to have new ones, which means it's going to stifle potentially innovation. And it means that, you know, we can't come up with a new Chanel No. 5 style iconic bottle in the way that we have before. And they're saying the problem with that is that other manufacturers from other countries, from China, for instance, are going to come in and eat our bacon.
Bacon or champagne.
I'm mixing metaphors.
But as a champagne lover, you would probably be okay, as you were alluding to, because there is a carve-out in this legislation that existing designs that are already protected by an EU trademark can be exempt. So things that are protected by geographical origin, like champagne, Irish whiskey, they would be protected. So your favorite champagne would probably look the same.
Good news for Divinoge. If anyone wants to send me some bottles of Divinoge, you know, we have not received, we send out merch, but we get no merch.
Can we just ask for gifts on the show?
No, we shouldn't. Folks, I'm kidding. Don't send us Divinoge.
If LVMH wants to sponsor us.
Chanel No. 5. Great
Oh no, we're here.
No, seriously, folks, we're joking. Don't send us anything. We are journalists. We are above bribes, but
You can't see Zoya winking into the recording.
Anyway, not everyone is against this, I have to say. So there have been some producers who are saying, actually, we see the point in this. It is pretty problematic for the environment when you've got really, really heavy bottles, unnecessarily large amounts of packaging going into these things. And actually, maybe this will make us innovate more. So that's kind of an interesting voice in the story as well. Not everyone is a naysayer.
One craft distiller that Marianne spoke to said that he already buys bottles back from customers and reuses them, and for him, what matters most is still the taste and smell of what's inside. Which,
beautiful.
That might be a nice thing to say, but it's kind of a gross way to say it.
Oh, Katie, this podcast has gone off the rails. Katie, why don't we get our listeners to let us know what their favourite iconic bottle is, whether booze or perfume?
I will also submit my response instead of just saying it now.
Oh, so you're not going to tell us. You're just going to keep me guessing.
I like to cultivate a certain mystique, Zoya.
I do like a mystique.
Speaking of mystery, enlighten our listeners. What do we have up tomorrow on the podcast?
Well, we've got an interesting episode coming up tomorrow of the Brussels Playbook Weekender. Anne McAvoy is interviewing János Boka, who is Viktor Orbán's successor as the leader of the Fidesz party in Hungary.
I, for one, am hungry for more updates. And Zoya, we've had yet another question about you.
Go on.
One listener has asked about the way you say the date and why you say August 26th rather than August 26th or the 26th of August. They want to know, is this an Australian thing or just a Zoya being weird thing?
Do you know, I've never really thought about it before. I don't know. It just seems like the most efficient use of time, which clearly today's podcast has shown us is not my number one concern. But nonetheless, yeah, I don't know. It just feels right. It feels right.
I thought you were just cleaving really closely to Politico's house style for writing dates in stories.
That's probably
always
what
got
it
stories
is.
On the brain, so
I was an editor for 10 years, so that's probably exactly what it is. Mystery solved, or not at all. Folks, leave us a review, subscribe, send us to your friends. You know, if everyone just sent us to one of their friends, we would have twice as many listeners. See you, folks.